Hello and welcome back. I hope you've had a nice replenished break, got all fed and watered. I'm here with my juice that's going to keep me going, and we are back now with Rohan's session. So Rohan Rishi Manghra, also known aka Rishi in my world, my lovely, awesome, amazing husband, who is an independent advocate and a governor for Birmingham Mental Health NHS. So he does a range of different things, and I will leave him to explain a little bit more of that as he then shares his story. And his topic is misplaced loyalty in the workplace, which honestly, I think a lot of us have had this journey in our life. I will now just swiftly hand it over to lovely hubby G, and all the best, and really looking forward to your slot today.
Thank you very much, Simon. I appreciate your time today, ladies and gents. Lovely to meet you all. Okay, so my topic of discussion today is misplaced loyalty in the workplace. So I'd like to tell you a story, actually, a story quite close to my heart. So yeah, I'll begin. Lovely stuff. Okay, so right. Back in the year 2005, I worked with a young gentleman who I had known since childhood. We had a close relationship. However, this was up and down at times. We grew up together and we also worked together. When this young gentleman turned 21 years of age, he found himself a full-time job in an IT field that he wished to develop a career in. He was given an opportunity for which he was very excited about. He was put on a standard 6-month probation period for all new employees, and he was absolutely enjoying himself fully. He was learning so many new things, and he grew excited day by day by day. All was going well in the beginning. He was enjoying all the trainings and induction planning and began to give his absolute best at work. However, 4 months into his new job, a shocking thing happened. This young chap was sent home from work one day not feeling very well. He had heavy sweats, was coughing, vomiting, and feeling very much fatigued. His supervisor at the time kindly told him to go home and go straight to the doctor. She could clearly tell he wasn't well. So lo and behold, he went to see his doctor, and he was prescribed antibiotics for a suspected chest infection. A few days later, however, unfortunately, he was worse for wear. The illness persisted, the symptoms continued. Upon returning back to his doctor, he was given alternative antibiotics, again diagnosed as a chest infection. However, this did not last. He continued to remain poorly, and he was losing weight. He was even vomiting water. He was getting worse and worse. I was really concerned for him. He went back to the doctor a couple of days later, third different doctor now, and asked the question to the doctor, "Doctor, please, 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 can you give me something that will work? I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, I'm vomiting water. There's something seriously wrong with me." That doctor listened to his heart, checked his blood pressure, and suggested to him to go straight to A&E. So he went to accident and emergency at the local hospital. He underwent various different tests. Upon the results of the test, it was confirmed that he had a serious illness. Unfortunately, he had an illness called tuberculosis. He was immediately admitted on that day. And on the day of the admission, he grew very nervous, very panicky. To calm him down, the doctors gave him a sedative. Unfortunately, the sedative gave him a rare allergic reaction. This allergic reaction caused his body to spasm, his tongue to swell up, and his life flashed before his eyes. Several doctors and several nurses came into the room to observe him. They could not understand what had happened. They had never seen anybody have such a reaction before. His mother was panicking. He was panicking. The doctor gave him a morphine injection. Then the next thing you know, he woke up the next day and he was on an isolation ward. That would go on to be the first day of a 10-week hospital stay in ward D12 isolation ward. He would not be defeated though. Even though his life had flashed before his eyes, he was angry that he thought at the thought that perhaps this was it for him. He was 21 years old. What had he done in his life? Yes, he had done some good things and he had made some good friends, but there was so much more to do. What a waste of a life that would be. But he would not be defeated. He lost a considerable amount of weight in hospital. He was put on a drip feed. He went from 11.5 stones to 6.5 stones in weight. He was tried on 3 more different types of medication, but his weight kept lowering and lowering dangerously. This was very, very concerning. A consultant told him one day that if his body did not react well to the next medication they would try, then they had no other options. It was last chance saloon. The situation could become grave, very grave. Despondent, sad, contemplating life, that night he cried himself to sleep in hospital. Eventually he fell asleep and began to dream. He had a dream that he saw himself from the ceiling of his hospital bed. There was a lady in the room, an elderly lady. She looked familiar. It was his grandmother. This must be a dream, he told himself within his dream, because Gran had passed away 4 years earlier. I was always very close to her, he said to himself. It felt so real to him. The next day, he awoke to a phone call in the hospital. It was his workplace. They asked him how he was doing and said that his job would still be there when he was fit to be discharged from hospital and that he had passed his 6-month probation at work. This was such a nice surprise to him. He felt so overjoyed and uplifted. He felt so grateful and really respected the loyalty from the workplace. This gave him motivation. The doctors started him that same day on this new type of medication, and thankfully his body began to respond. Immunity started to build. Slowly but surely, he got better and better and stronger. It felt like his grandmother reached out to him in a prayer over to him in the night before. When he eventually left hospital 10 weeks later and was fit to return to work, he did his absolute best in his role and excelled. His statistics were the best on the team. He took great pride in his work and became a well-respected and senior integral team player. Deep down inside, he had this inner drive to give the workplace his best because they stood by him in his darkest hour. He remained loyal. He remained working there for over a decade. Within this decade, he applied for many various internal positions, which would have been promotions in themselves to help develop him further. He was rejected for all. On many an application, he was told that if he was offered that position, then there would need to be 3 or 4 people to replace him in his current role because of the amount of work that he did do. Instead, as a result, he was offered as much overtime as he wanted. His manager told him, if money is a factor, we'll give you as much overtime as you want, and then you can make up the difference that way. He accepted. He began to work 65 to 70 hours a week. However, doing this for 4 years was unsustainable. He became demotivated, overworked, and depressed. His tone of voice changed. The excitement was gone. The passion was missing. Some of his closest colleagues, who were near to retirement age themselves, emphasized to him that he was young enough to change careers and start afresh on pastures new. He was a bright young man after all. Yet still, he remained there. Deep down, he felt he could not leave this workplace because of the loyalty of yesteryears gone by. Why was this? This did not serve him anymore. I tried to tell him so many times, but he would not action on this, although he completely agreed with me, 100%. I remained boggled, baffled, confused. Because of his depression, he felt he could not do anything. He felt that he belonged here, no matter what. What a mistake that was. A decade in a place that did not value him after the first couple of years. Then one day, he met a lady, a really nice lady, a clever lady, a life coach. She taught him that when he began to value himself, he would value his worth. What he really wanted to do was change his career. But what to? He had no idea. Eventually, he plucked up the courage amidst a time in his life when there were many stresses on a personal level as well as a professional level, and he wrote his resignation letter. Scared, frightened, terrified, what would he do now? I told him to go with his gut, go with the instinct, son. His gut told him that he wanted to explore into health and social care. He saw an advert posted for a support worker position local to him. He had no qualifications in this field. However, he had a lifetime experience of caring for a dearly loved family member who was vulnerable. This experience helped him get a job at entry level. He was grateful. His income reduced vastly, however, as he began at entry level. His wife was not happy, needless to say. He was earning much less money than before. However, he was excited about this job. He fell in love with the way he could get a buzz out of helping other vulnerable people. He used his own health issues in a positive light to help shine bright for others in need. He excelled. His wife was very proud of him. I was very proud of him. That was 6 years ago, back in 2015. Now he is a governor for the NHS Mental Health Foundation, whilst working as a full-time mental health advocate. Once he overcame the misplaced loyalty in the workplace, he found himself working in a career he was deeply passionate about. He was lucky. Work became a pleasure, not a pain. He gained so much invaluable knowledge and continues to learn so many insightful lessons and trainings. I'm very proud of how he continues to flourish. His wife is proud too, and beams when she speaks of him. This good friend of mine is me. He is I am he. We're always living different versions of ourselves daily. Today I am on one of the best versions of myself. Tomorrow I will continue to self-develop and evolve on my journey. I have many dreams and aspirations, and I'm excited for the future. My name is Rohan Manghra, and I came here today to share my true story and hopefully inspire and encourage you to remember we are all limitless. God bless. Thank you for your time, ladies and gents. I'm open to any questions.
As you can see, I've been a little bit of a blubbering mess through that. It is a bit close to home, not just because it's yourself sharing your story, but I think there's a lot of us that sometimes, oh gosh, we've been through that. We've walked those footsteps. Like, I know I was nearly a decade in my previous job, and it was like, wow, you're climbing this little mountain and you're really like looking for those little crumbs, and they're like sparsely scattering, and you're like, I know I'm worth more. I know I can do more. Why I'm not getting opportunities? But this workplace has done so much for me, and especially with the story you shared, being in such a vulnerable place with your health, and they still took you on board and helped you complete probation. You felt like you owed them so much, but
That's
then
right, yeah.
chipped away at your life for nearly a decade, and actually they didn't support you any further than that initial support at the start, as far as I know from what you went through. And it's so true. There's so many of us that we just so much focused on doing a good job in the moment, and we like, this will reap rewards. I believe though you reap the rewards in many different ways, not necessarily in that same organization, because there's so much you're doing now in your field, and you know yourself the difference you're making, how much you've done to yourself. And yeah, definitely, if anybody has got any questions, we've got a couple of minutes. If you'd like to raise your hands and join, or pop the question in the chat box, we'd love to have your questions. And I had a couple of questions. Well, I wanted you to, not necessarily a question, but I felt like in your story there's this whole element of, first of all, physical health and how the workplace sees that and how they support you, versus mental health. How is that viewed and supported? Because it's such a big thing, and especially for men, I feel like more men need to be encouraged to speak their stories the way you've done today and been so bold and courageous to do so. So I guess, yeah, do you have any thoughts on that, and any advice that you'd give anybody that might be in the place that you were that many years ago?
Thank you, Simon. I would say to anybody going through something similar, just reach out for help. Reach out and try to understand there is a differentiation between the two. They're not the same thing. Mental health and physical health, you do need separate support for them both. One doctor or nurse can't support you with one particular health issue. You need to identify what it is that you need help with and seek that support. Just be brave, be honest, be open, have a little bit of faith in somebody, even if it's just a friend.
Do you have
or
any
somebody
suggestions of anybody other than their friends and family? Is there any like helplines that you would recommend?
Yeah, surely. Well, back at that time, I remember ringing Samaritans a fair few times, because they weren't there to judge. They just looked from an outside perspective, and they didn't suggest anything to me to do, but they just listened to me. And sometimes we just need someone to listen to.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't want to go to a friend because they have this perception of us already. So in a way, it's actually quite therapeutic to talk to a stranger.
This can sometimes be very, very like interesting, and you almost, I think that's the element of, am I going to be judged or something, that can happen, and you can like not need to worry about that when it's somebody you don't know.
Spot on, yeah, because you have that independent point of view then.
Yeah.
And that always helps. And then you can look at yourself in a third person's eyes, and then you actually start getting brainwaves, start getting a bit of answers here and there, answers coming to you thinking, oh, I could do this actually, having spoken to that person, or I could do this, or I could think of things in this way. And it really, really does help, to be honest.
And I feel like that is also something exactly of how coaches and mentors help. So I've just been looking at the time, and I just realised Manny's session starting now. So anybody else, if you'd like to connect with Rish, you can connect with him on social media. You'll see him connected on my profiles. So do connect if you've got any other questions. And there's always the booth area in my booth. If you wish to have any questions for me to pass over to Rish, I'm happy to do that. So I will see you guys on the other side. And once again, thank you so much, Rish, and well done.
Welcome. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care. Good luck, everyone.